Right.
They're crimes, okay.
No, felonious crime. Yeah.
I was trying to remember when we met, I think, at Tuschen's funeral, but we had talked when your son Jordan was putting out a short film on one of Tuschen's poems, right?
Yes. Yes.
Uncle Harry's Tombstone.
If you'd like to read the blurb.
Sure. You can hear Tuschen reading his poem Uncle Harry's Tombstone by going to Vimeo.com or YouTube.com and typing in Jordan T. Caylor and clicking on Uncle Harry's Tombstone. It played at the Venice Film Festival. I think it's short, just a few minutes, but it's a marvelous. Jordan had taped him.
Jordan is our son.
Yeah, had taped Tuschen reading some poems, and then was able to put some visuals to this poem, and it's really fabulous. Actually.
Jordan did a graphic animation video of it, and a friend in Spain put the jazz behind it. And it's Tuschen actually reading his own poems. So even though he's been gone for 10 years, you can still hear him reading if you go to Vimeo or YouTube and look for, it might be abbreviated UHT, which always makes me think of an STD. But it's Uncle Harry's Tombstone, and you can hear Tuschen's voice, and there's nothing like it.
No, it's
like
marvelous.
his voice.
That beautiful voice.
Do you know the genesis of the State Street poetry sheets? I think I know from having talked to him. We were friends.
You probably know better than I.
Well, I mean, he as you know, he was such a people's poet. He loved the idea, I think, of just kind of guerrilla poetry almost, you know. And so in 2002, he began producing these, basically one sheet, right?
Every 2 weeks. And with his contacts out in the community, he hardly had to solicit anything. People were submitting, will you take this, will you take this? So the book, and this is a copy, there's some back on the table, is a rare event where there's not a bad poem in it, because he got to select from among all of the poems, he selected only the best. And you may not like one or two of them, but they're all of them excellent poems, nevertheless. And he put it out every 2 weeks, and there were, you can see in the cover, if we get to the cover, there were various merchants on State Street who supported this venture, and he would take the 8.5 by 11 sheets, and he'd leave a few at each of these merchants. The rest of them, he'd walk up and down State Street and he'd hand them out to people, because he believed that poetry belonged to the people and that it changed the consciousness of people, and that art belonged in your daily life, that art was not something that you went to see, art was not something that you listened to and left, but that art was what made life worth living. Art was what shaped you. When you got enough of it, you became a new and greater and better being. And so he felt that by passing these sheets out every 2 weeks, that he was improving the world. And there were people who actually started looking for them.
Oh, yeah.
And every 2 weeks, they'd be out looking for Tuschen. Where's my poem? Where's my poem? And he'd get to talking with them. And
he called the sheets the quiet voice of the subconsciously noisy.
yes. Yes. That's right.
Which was wonderful. And maybe we should talk about some of the poets who are there. I mean, for those of you who aren't aware of Tuschen, he's represented, of course, and he was Madison's first poet laureate. He was originally from Columbus.
Sun Prairie.
Oh, Sun Prairie,
And
but Columbus
High School.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Soglin, in his first incarnation in either 76 or 7, named Tuschen the Madison's first poet laureate. And he held on to that for years and voluntarily passed the baton. Again, sort of indicative of his sharing and his idea that poetry should be spread around. To Andrea Musher, I think was the next one. She's, of course, in the book. I saw Ralph Sandler. That surprised me. I didn't remember that Ralph, the former Civic Center director, is a poet. Ron Wallace, you'll recognize, I think, a lot of names. Walt Whitman, who made only a brief appearance on State Street.
Yeah.
named his-
Twice.
yeah, but he did get into the poetry sheet. Yeah. Who am I leaving off? So
Oh, about 40 people.
Yeah, I mean there's.
Rod Clark, as you mentioned.
Oh, sure. Who now publishes Rosebud, which is a really good literary magazine out of Cambridge, Wisconsin.
Andrea Photos
Yeah, Andrea,
is in here.
who is going to be chatting with me in a little while, and also is a valued member of the family here at Mystery to Me. So, yeah, it's a terrific collection. How did you come up with the idea to do it? I mean,
Jordan and I were looking through his things after he died. Tushen's been gone about 10 years. And he had archived all but 2 of the 3 years of the State Street poetry sheet. And this is what it looked like, only it was 8.5 by 11. And we felt that that it represented so much history, and that the poetry was of such excellent quality, that the quantity of them was insufficient, and that there ought to be a book where the authors and where the work that Tuschen had done initially, and where the poems themselves could get out and be in the public eye again, could get passed around, and where it would make a difference in people's lives again. So we naively thought, oh gee, let's make a book. So the Madison Arts Commission gave us a grant. We had to, it's a matching grant, so we had to solicit money, and that was a difficult proposition. But we did. And between Jordan and myself and Terry Talbot, who did a lot of the photography, and a number of other people, you can read the thanks in the back of the book, who gave their skill and their time and their talents to this. Sue was another one. Andrea Musher was one, of course. That's a list that's too long to list. We came to this state, which is the cheat sheet as far as I'm concerned, and agreed that it was worth publishing, and we have a wonderful guy on Regent Street who made the actual book for us. One of the things that we're very proud of is we got a picture of almost every poet, so that the people, when you turn the pages on this book, even if you don't want to read the poem, you've got a reason to turn the page to see the next person. And if you turn enough pages, you're bound to read one of the poems in it. And so it's just, it's a spiral that takes you deeper, and you end up with a book that you're familiar with and that may change your life.
did he talk a lot about kind of his about poetry and his passion for it? I mean, clearly it was one of the major things in his life.
That's all he talked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poetry was everything. Everything except the 602, the cards. The cards they played at the 602. And of course, the beer that got drunk while you were playing the cards at the 602.
Of course, he wrote a poem about the 602.
At least one.
Yeah,
Yes, but one definitely. That is not in here, unfortunately.
Who knows what the 602 is?
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
went into labor at the 602. I did. My water broke
It was-
in the bathroom.
I'm a longtime member of the Green Lantern next door.
Okay, yeah, it was a wonderful bar on University Avenue,
What's the name of it
602
now?
University.
Wandos, yeah.
Wandos.
Yeah.
University and Francis.
It was
Yes.
the place where all the artists of the university, all of the professors and the art people of Madison gathered at least once or twice a week, and shared their skills and shared their laughter and shared their dirty jokes.
Can I share a quick Tuschen
Please.
story? You've heard this one, Sonny, I know, and I've actually written it, but when I started my newspaper column, right about the time I started it, in the late 90s, I was with the Cap Times, and Tommy Thompson was governor and had decided, someone in his administration had decided that Wisconsin should have a poet laureate. And at that time, the only poet laureate I knew was, I remembered John Tuschen had been Madison's first one. So I decided then that I should try to find Tuschen. I had met him years before, but hadn't kept up with him. And he had kind of gone underground isn't the right word, but folks really didn't know where he was around Madison. I made some phone calls, and finally, I think Stu Levitan or Soglin or Ben Sidran or somebody said he's living on State Street. And I found him, and I'm so glad I did, because I was able to write this column suggesting him for the Poet Laureate. Of course, Thompson didn't take my advice, why should he? But it put me back in touch with Tuschen. And about a month or two later, I got a call. And it was always just last names, Moe, Tuschen, on the phone. I said, oh, hi, what's up? And he said, I never go to the West Side, but I was out to Half Price Books on Whitney Way. I said, yeah. He said, I went up, and they had a glass case next to the cash register, and there was my book, Tuschen Etrix, it's called, I think. A collection, and he didn't have a lot of books, but the ones that he had, people loved, and there were small printings always. And he's telling me this on the phone. He said, it was $250. And he went up to the, if you knew him, you see him going up to the young person behind the cash register, at the cash register, and saying, why is that book $250? And the person doesn't know. I don't remember if it was a young man or woman, but I'll find out. And the person comes back and says, he was a local poet and he died. And Tuschen offered ID and tried to get $50 for signing the book, which I don't think bore fruit, but it did make for a marvelous story.
It was a great story.
I think, Sonny, if you could maybe venture to read a poem or
be
two,
delighted.
I think that'd be great.
Will you help me maintain the time?
Yeah, you bet.
Well, I have one that I thought I would open with today. The title of this poem is, I have to apologize, the allergy season, And I started out with honey, and then honey and lemon juice, and then honey and lemon juice and brandy. And the rocks are still in my voice, and I'm sorry, but you're here for the words, you're not here for me anyway, so. Trying to catch some sleep in the cement vortex of America's vast interstate highway system outside Jersey City one night in 1967 when the moon was hard and the rain was pounding and Joey just kept laughing. Damn, it was cold. Damn.
What's that one called?
Trying to catch. All of that was the title.
Got it.
The poem itself was Damn. Yeah, the poem. Oh, you guys didn't get it. The poem was Damn, it was cold. Another one of his. The tar of roads and highways. This is why I have 2 pair of glasses. He watches his thumb twitch. Seconds tick by. Radio static. 4 more dead. There is a war someplace. Breathing is difficult. Slow, stuttering rhythms that mean less today than yesterday. His flesh is wrinkled and stained. An old newspaper. An ancient love letter. The tar of roads and highways. Odd, directionless highways where once the thumb posed proud and seeking. He tucks his thumb into his fist. And his mighty fist becomes a chin rest.
Maybe one more, son?
Of Tuschen's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last leaf falling. This last leaf falling has sliced my heart. Its jagged edge perfect in symmetry, noiseless, but in rustling company, has ripped through me, and I stand silent, burned by the heated summer, too stunned even to mock a gesture. Again, this madness that pulls me to beauty has me dancing an autumnal dance alone, bloodied and stone-faced. If this is some form of ending, at least remind me of the beginning. Remind me of a time before all those promises became leaves that scattered when I came to collect them.
I generally say congratulations, and I